Good morning, everybody. Welcome to 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. This is the Morning Buzz. I am Tara. I am joined by
Philippe.
and
Hallie.
and today we have a lot of really cool stories for you. We're going to talk about how New Jersey's not reopening restaurants at the schedule that was originally announced. We're going to talk about how some pediatricians in the state are calling for schools to reopen. We're going to talk about how Broadway is shutting its lights off for the foreseeable future. Someone taking very seductive pictures of radishes, which is the story that you didn't think you needed to hear, but you need to hear it. And also, stop microwaving books.
No, really.
Stop. We'll talk about that more later.
Let's throw over to Hallie. She's got her news story or newscast. But what do we got for us today?
Good morning. Associated Press is reporting that the White House was aware of the Russian bounties as early as 2019. According to U.S. officials with direct knowledge of the intelligence, this assessment was included in President Trump's daily intelligence briefings at the time. The AP reported this week that concerns about Russian bounties were in a second briefing this year, and that the current National Security Advisor, Robert O'Brien, had discussed the matter with President Trump. O'Brien denies it, saying the intelligence assessments regarding the Russian bounties, quote, have not been verified, and that the administration has been preparing should the situation warrant action. The Supreme Court ruled 5-4, striking down an anti-abortion law in Louisiana that was nearly identical to Texas's law from 4 years ago. Chief Justice John Roberts cast the fifth and decisive vote, justifying the decision by saying, quote, the Louisiana law burdens women seeking private abortions to the same extent as the Texas law, end quote. Many U.S. states have started to reverse openings and require masks due to the resurgence of the coronavirus. The reversed opening started in Arizona and is continuing through Texas, Florida, and California, who are slowly becoming the new epicenters for the virus. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly had this to add, saying, quote, the evidence could not be clear. Wearing a mask is not only safe, but is necessary to avoid another shutdown. I'm losing it this morning, but you know. In New Jersey, COVID-19 deaths have increased to 14,992 with a total of 171,272 cases as indoor malls and motor vehicle commissions start to reopen in phase 3. Governor Murphy has stated that the decline in new cases in deaths, along with a drop in hospitalizations and a stabilized retransmission rate, have allowed New Jersey to continue with its reopening plan. However, Governor Phil Murphy announced yesterday that New Jersey will not reopen indoor dining this week as planned, in the first major reversal of the state's phase 2 coronavirus reopening plan. More on this story is coming up later in the broadcast, but as of right now, the weather in Kingwood is 73 with a high of 80. I don't know what's up with y'all, but
yeah, right now here in sunny Newark, New Jersey. Well, not sunny because it's cloudy most of the day.
Yeah.
We're going to have a little bit of rain around 2 until 6, and some, summer thunderstorms. They're fine. They're summer thunderstorms. We'll be fine. But right now it's
thunderstorms.
I just don't like thunderstorms in general. I'm a big baby about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love thunderstorms because I live in like a river town, so the river gets high enough and you can put the boat in on the weekend.
Oh, that's cool. But yeah, we have 77 right now. We have a high of 80 and a low of 66, so pretty good change in temperature. What about you in Cedar Grove, Tara?
In Happy Valley, Cedar Grove, it's 74 right now, looking to go up to 82 and down to 65 with a pretty good chance of rain later and thunderstorms around. It doesn't give me a time, but in the afternoon,
Probably 2.
yeah, it's gonna start it's gonna be cloudy until then, and then after as well.
It's summer weather. The thunderstorms are nice. They lower there's still the humidity, but it's not that oppressive humidity. You can step outside for a second if it's not raining too much, and you feel a cool breeze and not feel like the sweat is sticking to your body and you're part liquid.
Right. Like the humidity is killer. Like when I take Sirius out for a walk, it's just like I feel like I'm walking through like a fog bank.
Mm-hmm.
Like
if you go to more desert areas here in the United States, they have a very much a dry heat. So like
Yeah,
Arizona, New
that's how
Mexico,
Arizona was.
step into the shade, 10 to 20 degrees cooler. But I digress. Let's jump into these stories real quick. This is a story for NPR. We have U.S. pediatricians call for in-person school this fall. They put out a strong statement that saying they are in favor of bringing children back to the classroom this fall, wherever and whenever they can do it safely. This is from the American Academy of Pediatrics. Their guidance, quote, strongly advocates that all policy considerations for the coming school year should start with the goal of having students physically present in school, unquote. The guidance says, quote, schools are fundamental to child and adolescent development and well-being, unquote. The
The
AAP,
story is coming through us from npr.org.
yeah, the AAP cites, quote, mounting evidence, unquote, that transmission of the coronavirus by young children is uncommon, partly because they are less likely to contract it in the first place. Okay, so I have two things
Can we break this down a little bit?
Yes, I think
You
you know
worked
where
with
I'm going.
kids. You
Yes.
worked with kids.
Um,
They're less likely to contact each other?
contract it. I don't know. There is a link there is a link that if you
Contract,
look,
sorry. But
it's NPR saying what parents can learn from child care centers that stayed open during lockdowns. Um,
I know
they
for a fact my work did not stay open during
um,
lockdown.
yeah, this is from they're talking about a YMCA in Arizona too, which as you're
Oh,
looking at
look at
Arizona
that.
doesn't look much better. And I will tell you, in Portugal, my uncle's family, his nephew was in a child care center, and he ended up catching coronavirus from it. He thankfully had like just basically flu symptoms. He's fine now, but he ended up catching it. I don't know, obviously there needs to be more read into this research, but I work with kids, like Tara said. Those little buggers are gross. They touch
Oh yeah.
everything. They lick everything. Like anything that you you stray your eye away from them. The next second you look at them, they're trying to hot dog eat contest all the Legos you can find.
Yeah, that's like with my job. I don't know if I said I went to job training last week, and it's like we used to do like if a kid puts something in their mouth, we take it, we throw it in the bucket, and we have to clean it later. Whereas like now, no matter what it is, it has to go and get cleaned. Like
Yeah,
my job is not about to catch a case because they would not want to deal with, like the backlash from that. So it's like we go and they're like, how kids are. So you have to be mentally prepared. Like you have to put on a glove because we'll usually like wipe their nose because most of the time they're really young. And it's
yeah,
like, y'all got to do this, this, this. It was like 2 full packets worth of new things because obviously our thing is we don't think we're going to have a lot of kids because I couldn't imagine bringing my child in any daycare after a pandemic.
yeah,
Like you may be young and all, but if you contract it, you could still die from it.
yeah.
And
right.
especially if they're really young kids, you still
We've
can.
we've seen kids pass away from it. We've seen infants
Yeah.
pass away from this. So it's
Right, and that weird like respiratory focused thing that develops in younger people sometimes that we saw some in New York.
mhm,
Like I don't understand this, and again, I would be more than welcome to listen to more from this organization and parse this better because I'm not a doctor, obviously.
Yeah.
But I was talking to my mother who taught for most of her life and, was watching these things happen, right? And like, what are you going to do to enforce some of these restrictions? How are you going to like the advisories for like keeping distance in classrooms? How are you going to do that?
and it's even
Classrooms are
worse.
already overpacked as it is. Are you going to send attendants into the bathrooms to follow children to make sure they stay on this protocol? What happens when a fire drill happens? Are you going to only let kids out one at a time so that if a fire
6 feet
alarm goes
apart.
off and if you're at the end of the line, good luck. Like, what do you like? Some like the logistics of this to me, and again, this is just me observing this. I'm not, trying to disrespect the body of evidence or whatever, but I don't see any strong evidence. I just see a recommendation here.
And
Like,
work
I don't
that
get
makes
it.
sense. It makes
I,
sense because like coming from my high school, I don't know what you guys had in high school, but mine in particular had a lot of bomb threats and things of that sort.
Yeah, or
And
during a
sometimes,
lockdown drill, what are you gonna
yeah,
do? Don't
and
don't hide in the
sometimes,
corner. We got to stay 6 feet apart. If you're in view with a
exactly.
shooter, good luck.
Which on top
Like,
of that, sometimes they didn't even evacuate the high school. I was like, you're kidding. I was like, you're not gonna evacuate us.
yeah,
And
Like
they're
I
like, well, we
will,
know it's fine. We're like, but you don't.
I think the one thing I will take out of this, that as much as I disagree with that, you know, conclusion that though there's safer, there's that little bug that was trying to bite me. I'm sorry, I had a little bug flying around before the show started that kept trying
I
to like,
saw you try to like,
yeah, a few times, and like now it was crawling on the floor, and I'm like, should catch it. But it, back to the story, um, the point they make about being important, for having the students physically present and having the students there, saying that it's fundamental child and adolescent development. They're right. They're 100% right. Like, you want your child to be able to fundamentally be able to interact with other kids, other peers, people their age, so they can develop their social skills, so they can keep working on, understanding how the real world works and making relationships. And that's completely valid. I don't think any of our arguments today are saying that that isn't valid. Like, we understand that. And it's the same thing with us dealing with college. We're not exactly happy about what happened with, having to transition to online learning, and going forward, the possibility that, we're already going to have to, Montclair already gave us an update how school's going to proceed. As of now, there will be in-person teaching starting August 25th, and then after Thanksgiving, it will be done remotely from home. We're not necessarily happy with having to do it from home for that section of the semester up until, I want to say, December 14th.
yeah,
Um, However, like, you know,
it's what you have to do. Eventually, it's like you can't just pretend like all of this doesn't exist and just go back to school, or it's gonna get worse,
yeah,
as it
like,
already has.
like you look into, there's a lot of research into just the mental effects of this kind of stuff. According to BBC, you have children developing serious mental health conditions, including post-traumatic stress, because of the pandemic itself. A charity warned, because this is a stressful time. Like there is major belief that, as there was with the Spanish flu pandemic, there's going to be widespread communal, basically PTSD, because of the fact that we're going through a horrendous, just like, it is a cultural shift. Everything's going on. There's people who have anxiety about their loved one's health, and a lot of kids are facing, on top of it, social isolation and hunger. Like, we always say, when this is over, there's going to be lingering effects after
Yeah,
this,
right.
after the
Also,
actual pandemic itself is
kids have a hard
handled.
time wrapping their heads around stuff that's not immediately happening around them. You know that.
yeah,
Yeah,
Like, it's hard. It gets hard to say to like it. Like, don't get me wrong. It's hard to say to a kid like, "Oh, when this is over, things are going to be better," because they have a hard time. I have a hard time conceptualizing like
yeah,
stuff that's not happening like immediately to me, and like seeing like things are going to get better.
I mean,
Um,
I've seen it firsthand with my little cousin, Isabel. She just turned 9. She had to finish school. My sister helped her out finishing her work and everything for the rest of the school year, and she's been very stressed out. I mean, there were times where she had to talk about it with her teacher, in terms of like the Google Classroom meets, and she was genuinely worried about this kind of stuff, because she understands what's going. She understands in terms of what she has to do, in terms of, socially distancing, making sure she washes her hands and everything. But it's still difficult. She's a 9-year-old. I'm a 25-year-old, and I'm struggling with this. I can't
yeah,
imagine a child who has little to no agency in comparison to me, because your parents have to do a lot for you, and your family have to do a lot for you, and not having the opportunity to do a lot of the things that you're used to doing, because she's used to being outside the house. She's used to being able to see other kids and playing outside. We thankfully have a backyard that she can go out and play, but it's not the same. Um, you know, in another big thing in terms of just health, um, their immune system isn't, working very well in terms of experiencing other germs and things, like, these
and
kids are,
growing.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're not catching colds, they're not catching strep or anything. And ideally, you don't want your kid to catch strep or catch a cold or stuff like that. But, that helps the immune system get used to those kinds of germs and diseases and stuff and other, issues like that. And it's just, it's rough right now. And there's another one, the Childhood Trust in the UK pointed to a 21% rise in alcohol sales during this lockdown and quotes a statistic saying that 2.6 million children living with a parent drinking hazardously and 705,000 living with a dependent drinker. So there's a lot of things that are in play right now, and I understand completely the sentiment of wanting these kids back in school in terms of further social development, in terms of having somewhere for them to go in order to learn, but also be with friends and everything like that. But the point stands, we're still in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
Your solution, to the problems that are going on should not also carry a risk as high as it does, in my opinion.
Right.
If your solution to, something's on fire, your solution to is like, well, you can still be in the house, just don't go into the parts that are on fire. Maybe don't be in the on fire house at all.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good analogy, honestly. Like it just I get it. Like I get it. And it's hard to like kind of sit here and criticize this because, all this stuff is true, talking about kids' mental state, kids' immune system developing. But with the alternative, especially with the, again, that weird respiratory variant that happens in children, like, I don't understand how you could say this in good conscience, but I'm also not a doctor, so I will just leave that there. I don't, I guess we have to wait to see if, people's statuses change and with this second wave that we're hitting,
The
which it
second
might,
wave came early. Came a little
right?
bit early.
I mean,
Which it might, so.
I will say it's hard to say it's a second wave when we have really not handled the first wave completely,
Exactly.
in my opinion. There's an interesting tidbit out of the Fairfax County Public Schools in Virginia. They announced reopening plans and they offered families a choice between 2 days a week of in-person classes or an all-remote schedule plus extra intervention on a third day for students who need it. This is from the article. The county's 3 educator unions resisted, arguing in a statement that remote learning should continue. Quote, our educators are overwhelmingly not comfortable returning to the schools, unquote, said Tina Williams, the president of the Fairfax County Federation of Teachers. Quote, they fear for their lives, the lives of their students, and the lives of their families, unquote. Which, yeah, I mean, if you're having meeting, I think I saw it on Twitter, someone tweeted, if you're reopening meetings for school and for other locations are done remotely for safety concerns, that should really read the room for you in terms of reopening. But in connection to that, we do have
Reading
a
the room
story.
is not a special skill.
It's easy, but I'll give some credit for Phil Murphy. He did read the room, and this is an article from NJ.com. NJ restaurants not reopening for indoor dining this week after quote knucklehead unquote crowds at bars ruined it for everyone.
Yeah, he read the room, and the room was packed with people not wearing a mask.
Yeah.
So
I will say
this is coming from NJ. What's up?
I know. I was gonna say him using the word knucklehead.
Yeah, it's a stand-in for something else. Because he's from New Jersey, and I know what he really wants to call them, which is the same thing I want to call them. But according to NewJersey.com, New Jersey will not reopen indoor dining this week as planned in the first major reversal of the state's phase 2 coronavirus reopening plan. Governor Murphy made this announcement yesterday. Indoor dining was scheduled to resume Thursday, along with several big other reopenings, including AC casinos, amusement parks, boardwalk rides, and arcades to cash in on July 4th. The canceled reopening also includes wedding venues and banquet halls. But for some reason, the casino's reopening is staying on track for Thursday.
Yeah.
Whatever.
My thing is the casinos are really big, so I'm wondering if like there's a plan. Like I wonder if they actually like have a good plan.
I hope they do, if that's what they're going to continue.
Because like I've been in the resorts, and the resorts is massive.
Right.
And
So
you see any casino hall, and even if you're just looking at like a movie or pictures of it, it's big.
I
As long
just
as they
don't.
control the amount of people, the biggest problem is going to be just making sure everything's clean. They're going to have people constantly going around after someone's done, or even like a
Yeah.
gym situation where after you use a workout machine, you wipe it down.
Yeah,
So
that's
after you use a casino machine, you wipe it down. So
That's what I'm thinking is like they'll use more of the machines because it's way easier to sanitize a machine than like a deck of cards. You know
exactly.
Right.
what I
Or
mean?
or a fabric table.
Exactly.
Like,
So that's what I would think and I would hope because casinos they want to make money.
And wear gloves. I mean,
Yeah.
if you walk up to like a blackjack table or a poker table, put on a pair of gloves and use them that way. Um, you know, that minimizes the risk to first and foremost the dealer, who's going to have
Yeah.
to work there. And I imagine they could set them up in a little glass case that has protection. And they're kind of like at the post office where you have the little slot where you can put your you put in the money or whatever or the envelope you need to send, and then they give you back your change and your receipt
right.
and everything. So
And
you were saying, Tara?
no, I was just gonna go back to the article. So if you want to get something in
Oh
before
yeah,
we go there.
yeah. No, I mean, casinos. I feel like it's already a controlled environment to begin with. Casinos have a lot of choice and say in what they do there. So as long as they implement a plan and they stick to the plan, it can work.
You
But
could.
the article
Um,
itself,
yeah, Murphy put out a statement saying, given the current situation in numerous other states, we do not believe it is prudent at this time to push forward with what is, in effect, a sedentary indoor activity, especially when we know the virus moves differently indoors than out, making it even more deadly. This came from his regular COVID-19 briefing yesterday. We've seen spikes in other states driven in part by the return of patrons to indoor dining establishments where they are seated and without face coverings for significant periods of time. We are also moved to take this step because of what we've seen in some establishments across the state as of late. Overcrowding, a complete disregard for social distancing, very few, if any, face coverings. End quote. So
that
let
that
me let me just.
yeah,
I'm happy that Governor Murphy stood up to this because there's pressure from people and from not just people that want to that are the non-masked crowd in them, but there's pressure just to kind of move forward, and I to some degree I understand that, but way to be, dude. These idiots are like literally ruining it for everybody else, and
Yeah.
he broke it down to the last compound. That statement was, I enjoyed that immensely.
the wording I like too because it gives insight into why malls are still reopening, and he specifically used the phrase a sedentary indoor activity. Um, you know, talking about people being seated without face covering for significant periods of times. Um, I guess the logic behind why malls are still reopening. Malls are big. You're moving around in a mall. You can limit the amount of people coming in and out of a mall. So my thought is the reason why malls are still reopening is because of the size,
Yeah.
because of the mobility within a mall, because who goes to a mall and stays in the same place for more than 15, 20 minutes at most?
And they could also just close the food court on top of everything. There,
Exactly.
there's a way around a lot of it. Unless you go to Phillipsburg Mall, like you guys, I don't know if you've ever been to Phillipsburg.
Don't
It's
know.
basically a desert. There's nothing in it. So
It's the
It's
perfect mall.
the ceiling
it's like the
the
Livingston
ceiling
Mall.
fell in a few months ago. So,
Oh,
It's like the Livingston Mall. The Livingston Mall is booty.
it literally
Don't look at me. Don't add us. And I see you on Facebook. If any of you have anything nice to say about the Livingston Mall, I have no time to
yeah.
hear it.
the
And I
one
know
nice thing to
funny
say that I will say about it is if you want to just walk around in a mall and there not be many people, it is the perfect mall to go to for that.
Livingston?
Yeah.
If you're a criminal and you want to go somewhere where no one will ever think to look, go to the
it's
Livingston Mall.
I felt that. That's like Phillipsburg. It used to be really bumping, like when I was 12. Now the ceiling has fallen in. You go in
It
and
was
there's kind
bumping
of
too
stairs.
much, so much that the ceiling fell in.
Yeah.
It fell in, and the most that's there is like a Gold's Gym, and obviously gyms aren't open. So, I mean, If you want to still go, you can see the deserted shops.
Yeah, you can do disaster tourism,
If
like
that suits
when
your
people
fancy.
visit like shipwrecks and stuff.
But I will say that's good. That's good for some people if you live in that area and you know that mall is empty, and you have that itch to get out of the house. You can go somewhere where you know that you won't run into a lot of people.
Yeah,
Which is,
literally, there's like
good. Which is good. I mean, like you go to like suburbia right now is a big one where people can get out of the house and walk around and get fresh air while also not having to worry about running into too many people. Because I know here
that's
in New
like
York, there's a lot of people here.
yeah. If
So
Livingston Mall is the same, there's like 2 stores in this mall.
Yeah.
It's a record store and then like a piercing pagoda, which is
Oh, when it says it has a record shop, I take it back. I like yours better than
no,
Livingston.
yeah, I think it's still there. It was really nice, but like
But speaking
Remind me one day, not today, but remind me one day to tell you the story of how I set all the metal detectors off in Livingston Mall at the same time.
but
That's
speaking
a
of
different story for
entertainment,
a different day.
we have from the New York Times, we have an article about the future of Broadway in the middle of this pandemic. The Broadway will remain closed through the rest of the year. The industry said it would refund tickets through January 3rd in hopes that shows would be able to reopen over a series of rolling dates in early 2021. The Broadway League said Monday, yesterday, they will refund those tickets previously purchased for given the unpredictability of coronavirus pandemic that has prompted the shuttering of Broadway. The league said it was not ready to specify. Today is just the day of not speaking English. Exactly what the
Take
shows
two.
will.
Felt that.
They specifically said, quote, returning productions are currently projected to resume performances over a series of rolling dates in early 2021, unquote. The league said in a statement among the logistical industry leaders are discussing with government and medical officials, quote, screening and testing, cleaning and sanitizing, wayfinding inside theaters, backstage protocols, and much more, unquote. Yeah, I mean, I feel like whether or not you're a Broadway fan, whether or not you love musicals, this is the way. This is what you need to do. You need to honor those ticket purchases in the best way you can. In this case, refunds are the way to go. And keep the health of your people and keep the health of your ushers, your actors, your producers, your music people, everyone.
And your audience.
Yeah, you can't have a Broadway play if you have people dropping like flies, either in the studio, on stage.
You can.
You can. It's
but
not
you
ethical.
shouldn't. Yeah.
I
should do. I like the. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but like with this was real popular in the 90s with like real cheesy like edits and stuff. But they're doing like the filmed on stage versions.
Yeah,
where it's like an empty house, but they're filming. Like I miss those. Like I feel
like Shrek the musical. Guys, my phone's going off. I'm so sorry.
What you could probably do if you really want to keep shows going, and Broadway's always been against filming, but I think what you can do, because you were talking about bootlegs.
No, I wasn't talking about bootlegs.
Not you, Hallie was talking
Yeah,
about
Amanda and I were talking about Broadway bootlegs and how so Alex Brightman from Beetlejuice was a big one. He's like, you can see the reflection of a cell phone when you're filming, and it drives them crazy because that's not what theater's for. You're there to watch it. You're not there to film it. However, in this time, a ton of these videos are coming out. Yeah, Broadway HD does exist. I forgot about Broadway HD where they film. But you're seeing all these bootlegs of shows come up and everyone's watching them because they miss it. I hate to say it, I've watched a few videos, but that's only because Cameron Dallas was in Mean Girls and it was a very rough stunt casting because he had no support, and they think that they were trying to get Shawn Mendes but accidentally got him.
I saw Mean Girls on Broadway.
I've been waiting to see it, and I'm gonna be so sad because Frozen closed.
Do you want me to keep it the realest of real with you right now?
Yeah.
I wouldn't go out of your way to see it.
But Renee Rapp is so good. She's so good.
I will say
it wasn't giving me the vapors. We'll say that.
I will say, bootlegs aside, because that's been a thing in terms of Broadway accessibility for a while. People talking about how Broadway should invest more in videos. just because of the fact that some people may not be able to go as consistently to Broadway. Like some person in Michigan who's into Broadway stuff, when are they going to fly out to New York to go see Broadway?
They're
When they
doing
can
other
just buy
things
a
in
video.
Michigan that we're going to talk about in our next story.
But the thing with filming, you'd have to obviously go through a process of quarantining the actors
Yeah.
and testing as much as you can. But if the actors are comfortable with it and the companies are willing to take the steps to go this forward, Broadway on film is something they could do right now that people would definitely be interested in, or even live streams.
Film live on stage. Like, remember the Cats thing? That Cats filmed on stage from like the 90s is better than the movie.
And they have Rent when it was filmed in like it was like early 2000s. They filmed it with the original Broadway cast, and that's online. But
Yeah.
because it's like with Hamilton, when it's coming out on Disney Plus this Friday, where they basically
Yeah.
just filmed the entire thing, and they did it with Shrek. I love watching Shrek the musical.
I saw Shrek the musical for my eighth grade trip, and I was mad because we were supposed to go to Six Flags, but they're like, "Well, you don't deserve it this year because of things that one class did out of like six, and like we're gonna take you somewhere educational." And they're like, "Okay." So they took us to the
Shrek is
Central
so
Parks.
good.
They took us to the Central Park Zoo, which was great. I love zoos in general. But then they took us to see Shrek on stage, and I enjoyed it.
What is
I'll say that
educational about Shrek?
there isn't anything
Um,
about Shrek, but
no,
I I'm not I'm not saying I didn't enjoy Shrek. I did. It was Shrek. You always enjoy Shrek, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted Six Flags, not
Yeah.
Shrek the musical.
Okay, but Shrek, like for me, I love it, but that's also because my high school, the running joke was either the musical was going to be Shrek or Cats, which we never would have a cast for either of those shows.
You
Or the
could never
budget.
get a school to do Cats. How?
That was the joke every year. They're like, this year, Cats. And we're like, no,
Cats
it's not.
Junior.
No, it's not.
Cats Light.
No, it is not.
But I think we can, on this topic of just entertainment in general.
Wait,
um,
hold on. There's a Rent Junior?
Yeah, there is. They like cut out a ton of stuff.
I mean, I imagine you'd have to.
Imagine like Out Tonight and all the Into the Woods. We did the regular
Into the
Into
Woods
the Woods.
Junior.
We did normal Into the Woods, and it ran for 2 hours. I was on makeup crew that year because I didn't make it, and I remember going to see it, and it was like you got an hour and a half in, and then you're like, oh, it must be over. Hit intermission. There was like another hour of it. And I was like, oh no.
Oh,
No,
Lord.
it's severe. It is severe.
But
But
we've
you
been
mentioned Michigan.
well. Before we go into Michigan, I think we want to go into a little bit because this week we're leading up to July 4th. We were talking about some different stuff in terms of summer, and I think something that has popped up too is something that we're not going to be able to do this summer is just in terms of music, going to concerts.
Yeah.
Because obviously we can't pandemic wise.
Yeah.
But when summer comes around, even just early spring, I think the first thing that always comes to mind for me at least is concerts and us going to them. I think it was I think Alkaline Trio was going to be performing in June down in
the Alkaline Trio,
Park,
Bad
Michigan.
Religion, Split Bill.
Down in the convention center in Asbury Park. And like we have some good memories of going to concerts to different venues. I mean, Starland Ballroom,
Mm-hmm.
just Starland Ball. All I have to say are those two words, and I think
It's
everyone.
a special place. It's a special place.
It's a special place. They've been obviously doing what they're supposed to in terms of canceling shows, refunding tickets, but yeah, like Real Big Fish was supposed to do shows. Big D and the Kids Table was supposed to do shows.
Yeah.
Big
D Kids Table, the band I stole the name of my show from.
Yeah, it's steal it. It's an honor.
I did borrow it with permission.
You borrowed it permission because you have spoken to the singer a few times.
I have, so it's on record. But this is something like, and like I've seen some people rescheduling for fall, but that it's summer. Summer gigs are like they're the bread and butter of our music, our live music experience. Go under PNC Bank Arts Center if for the bigger shows with the outdoor thing, and
Festivals. Let's not even go like the summer stage down at the Stone Pony every summer. At some point,
Yeah.
Dropkick Murphy swings by. Against Me has done the past 2 summers shows at the summer stage. And it's like if had this not happened, obviously we'd aim to go see Dropkicks because we've seen Flogging Molly, but we haven't seen Dropkick
Well, we
Murphy.
should go back. Flogging Molly was such a good show.
It was.
Irish Celtic punk wonderfulness.
And even before it got canceled, you knew summer concert season started when Bamboozle started.
Remember Bamboozle? My God!
Like that summer specifically, just in terms of shows we watched. This was back. We were children. We were
this was like 2012. 2012 was the last Bamboozle.
We were but we Babs, juniors in high school.
That was
from
burning. It was
I was 12.
1,000 degrees in that thing. Shut up.
They're like,
She said she was 12.
We were 6.
I was 12.
Well, the 4-year
Stop
difference.
it.
The 4-year difference when someone is 16 and someone is 12 is different than when you have someone who's 20 and someone who's 24.
Right.
It's gonna be weirder. So you just walk around, you see a 12-year-old in the middle of Bamboozle by herself.
That was probably like my sister. We had this literally when we were younger. There was this concert that was like down our street in this massive barn. It was called Revelation Generation, right? And you could hear this rock music for hours.
Oh my god.
4 hours. And I'm pretty sure my sister went once, but it was like a ton of different bands. And it was dope. Like I would sit outside and listen to it because I could hear it in my backyard. But I never actually went. That's what that was reminding me of. You guys are going to like these really cool concerts.
No. We could do a whole episode on Bamboozle stories from that year alone, because there was the last one. They haven't done a Bamboozle since then.
They did Surf and Skate for a couple years after.
Yeah,
which is pretty solid.
Yeah, but
which,
it's
I don't
not
know.
like a massive.
Did
scale.
you guys ever see any concerts at like the Quick Check Balloon Festival or the Festival of Ballooning? I saw 14, 15-year-old me wanted to go see Dove Cameron from Disney when she had her band with her now like ex-fiance. I saw them and it was very moving. I loved it.
I wish. You know who I got to see? I got to see the Charlie Daniels Band, of which I only know one song at that festival. And because my dad wanted to see them. And then I got to see it the next year at that festival, Meatloaf.
Yes! Oh, no. I would love to see Meatloaf.
No, dude.
Was it not a good show?
I'm gonna ruin your dreams today. I'm sorry. It was horrible. It was horrible. It was not good.
He's not like Billy Joel, where he like never ages.
Correct. He also is now. He's all weird now with what he's saying, but that was not the look. It was not good. But I gotta Phil, say what you're gonna say, then I gotta throw a question out to the room.
Yeah, it's just concerts are such a staple of just the summer and the way things work in terms of, you go out, you go see a concert, you take time out of your day, especially if it's a weekend or a Friday night, and you're able to just, take a load off and stuff like that. So I feel like it's definitely something that we're missing out. And
so next, I want you guys to think about this because we got to move along a little bit. But next week, I want an answer of what your summer playlist has been and will be. Don't answer now because we got to move. But
we're moving to Michigan.
We're moving to Michigan, and Michigan. Listen, kids, this story is about you. And
let me get real nice and close to this microphone.
Let me get. Well, you get up to the mic. I'm gonna get up to the camera, right? We'll get nice and close.
Ready?
Okay. You see where I'm coming from? Okay.
Stop
microwaving books.
Okay. So now we can move on. We actually talk about the story. So, Michigan Library is receiving books that are getting microwaved. They're microwaving as in an attempt to sanitize them from the coronavirus, because exposure to heat has been in terms of research, has been shown to, just most viruses cause damage. The problem is the frequency tags inside that help them keep track of it are made of metal.
Yes,
What do,
RFID chips. Or, literally any staples in the books.
what do you not put in the microwave, Tara?
I believe that answer to that question is metal, Phil.
So
Aluminum foil.
Metal of any kind. You do not put metal
Nah.
in the microwave.
So they're
I'm gonna
receiving
test that
books.
theory.
They're
Be ready to
receiving-
buy a new microwave.
Yeah, like the library had to come out and say that whatever they receive is already being quarantined for 72 hours and they don't need to be sterilized. Like also the microwave thing is the one that really gets me, because I know a lot of people, like when you receive a package or anything like that, or like my mom when she goes grocery shopping and stuff like that, she'll change clothes and because the clothes she didn't wear them that much,
Right.
she's just not going to put them in the wash. She'll leave them outside in the sun, like on a clothesline, because you do that, and that's a good way of just kind of let it sit out there for a few hours, and you're good. Why do you go straight to the microwave?
Because
Is
you're
this
stupid.
is like
Sometimes they're fun to look at.
I'll give them props for
You're pyro. You want to set things on fire and see them burn.
I give them credit for taking the initiative and thinking, I'm going to return these. I need to make sure they're clean, and I'm not going to use wipes because that'll damage the book. But I got to still make sure that I'm not putting the people that I'm in contact with in danger. I will give them credit for that. I'll give them credit for that much. But I kind of also want to give them a pass, because it's like, how many of those people know about those RFID chips?
I didn't know.
It doesn't even have to be the chips. It could be just like a staple.
I thought the books, like when I first saw that story last night and you said it to me, Tara, I thought the books were just spontaneously setting on fire. And I'm like, oh, that's hilarious. But then when I see it's the RFID chips, I almost feel for the people doing this, because it's like, you're doing it out of the goodness of your heart.
Yeah, they're not burning books. They're just putting books in situations where they happen to catch fire.
But why are there ID chips? I'm confused.
So you could scan them, scan them in
Ours had barcodes.
My library here in Newark does the same thing. They have a barcode that you scan instead of RFID chips.
That just makes more sense. You can't mess up the book if you don't have anything like.
This is the epitome of the metaphor that the road to HE double hockey sticks is paved with good intentions. No matter how good your intention is, you're still setting a book on fire by mistake.
The road to heck.
The road to heck. The road to Tartarus, as the Greeks would call it.
Tartarus.
Tartarus.
Every time I hear that word, I think of Fallout, because Mr. House curses you with that. But that's a very geeky, niche story comparatively. But we'll get to that a different day. Stop microwaving your books. Don't microwave yourselves either. Don't microwave your animals. Don't microwave your children. Don't microwave your cars. Don't microwave your homes.
I will say,
I wonder with microwaves.
I wonder if there's for this next story, the guy in the next story could have prevented this had he known.
True.
This is a story from.
I love this story.
So this is a story. It was a tweet from the founder of Fark.com, Drew Curtis.
The founder of what?
Fark. Fark.
Just clearing that up.
I told you guys before this.
Yeah.
I said before this, I read this on TikTok literally this week, and I was like, there is no way.
He said he told people to enjoy 2016 because the future looked dreary. He also claimed jokingly to be a time traveler from 2020 who was here to warn us of the impending doom. Curtis brought the tweet back up in the public eye on May 1st, claiming that it still holds up. Quote, admission, I am a time traveler from 2020. Enjoy 2016. It's as good as it gets for a while. And it's sick, meaning that those are his words. End quote.
This tweet aged well.
So just some basic information. he's an author and a CEO, and he's given a TED Talk. And yes, he's predicted a whole lot in the tweets comments, albeit in good fun. When it resurfaced in May, a lot of people had questions. Some asked him when things would return to normal. He said November. May seem unrealistic, but it's one of those things where in a coincidence, things are going on as he's saying them. Like a lot, for example, in him saying November, a lot of states are planning to roll out their reopenings for summer and fall. But his thread explains that 2021 will see a second growth in cases and require a second lockdown. Quote, states will open up too soon and have to close down again, unquote. You're in response to someone who wanted to see normality by July. He claims the second lockdown is going to happen in August, September. And now they're trying to get in touch with him to actually get information from him. But the real question is, this is a tweet from May 1st, and people are asking why did it get so popular, but Newsweek ran an article about this, so everyone started to pick up the story. So obviously, a tweet that was pretty much unknown for a while suddenly gets covered by major media outlet.
Right, I was wondering, I don't know, I this stuff like this bothers me because it's kind of like. They say stuff like this and then they turn around and they're like, oh, it's a joke. But like you're trying to like imply that what you're saying is serious and that people need to follow your advice and listen to you. But then when anybody comes around to try to test the validity of what you're saying, you're like, no, it's a joke. It's a joke. Don't question it. It's just a joke.
Yeah.
Like this stuff annoys me. I think it's
with online content, there's a fine line between a joke and something serious. And there's a lot of people that don't pick that up. A lot of times, and I think if you're going to be joking around, you should be very, 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 very transparent. He said
he's joking.
He said a few times.
And the article said that he was, they put that in for him. They were like, oh, he said humorously. That's just them covering their bases because this story has nothing like factual to stand on.
Yeah,
you better say he's joking because otherwise you're just printing garbage. I don't understand how stuff like this gets traction. But
he claims Trump won't be reelected and says that he's going to blame election fraud and post-election is going to be rough and admission without apparent knowledge. It's if you're not picking up this story at the right level, you're going to take it too seriously and it might cause problems.
Right. This is like the same thing. Like, also, this is the same thing. Like, it sounds. You know what this sounds like to me? What this reminded me of hearing this the first time is those like fake psychics that are like, does anybody in the room have a name that starts with A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P? Like, just like throwing out super vague information, and eventually, some of it. Like, of course, like if you say enough things to enough people, eventually, even though you're just making it up, some of it's going to be true.
It's
like
also
just by coincidence.
Also, what is this? What is this very different piece of advice? Don't give guns to robots.
I mean, like,
is this about to be Terminator?
Well, that's the thing. That a lot of the things he's also predicting are things that you can almost not. I don't want to say perfectly predict, but you can make with some certain guesstimation in words like that, because we've already seen scientists basically say like we need to be careful with research into AI to make sure that we don't put ourselves in a vulnerable position to them, which is that's really what that part is alluding to. Like there's actual worry.
What did she said Trump was gonna not get reelected or whatever? You literally are just making a statement that you have a 50-50 chance of being right.
Yeah.
This is just like old stuff, like old like frauds and like old fraudulent people, like quote unquote psychics. And snake oils use this type of stuff. Like again, if you spit out enough BS, eventually by pure coincidence, you're gonna be right.
It's good.
But like him saying that he's gonna complain that he lost because of like election fraud, to me is like. That sounds like something that would happen.
A good
exactly. Which makes it's just why it's a great lie. Like
a good attempt at prediction always has some layer of truth in it.
The best lie is the one that's wrapped in truth.
But I think before we wrap up, because we're getting close to the end of the show, let's talk about illegal fireworks and dead alligators. What do they have in
Nice. You
common?
hit that gear change harder than a student driver who is learning to drive a stick shift for the first time. And there is no other way to approach this story.
This is an article from 97X, the radio station. It starts with
the Classic Rock Authority, as they call themselves.
When you're breaking the law, it's more effective to go by what's going to make money rather than pick and choose what you're going to break the law doing. Police in Staten Island, New York, arrested a group of 10 on Wednesday with a truckload of illegal fireworks they were planning on selling. Along with fireworks, police found 3 dead alligators.
Can we get this image, please, from this story? What? Because it's hard to conceptualize how much explosives we're actually talking about.
Yeah, the police did put up a specific. I can screen share.
Boss has got it.
That's a lot of fireworks.
Where were you putting that in your truck? Like where?
It has to be like coming out the windows, coming out the trunk, like.
Did you have a U-Haul? Like.
Yeah,
that's my fireworks U-Haul. I use it to carry fireworks.
The suspects are being charged with fireworks trafficking and unlawfully transporting 3 alligator carcasses, which that second one was written in all caps as an actual charge.
My question is, but for why? Like, why?
Probably funding all these fireworks you're hearing in the middle of the night. Like, I don't know.
But
these guys are the dealers.
Alligators.
Yeah, they're the dealers. Why do you so many fireworks? I feel like this is a story that would have happened in New Jersey sooner or later. But the problem with it now is that
or Florida.
I believe they're legal now.
Florida man.
This is a Florida man story. But yeah, like Jersey really recently relaxed its laws on fireworks, so I wouldn't be surprised if that happened in Jersey. But like, oh my god. And like the thing is, like,
that's an arsenal.
We were talking about this last night.
Yeah, that's an arsenal.
Right. And you were talking about the phrasing of the way that they phrased it, the way they're being arraigned for.
There it is. There's a car. There's the car.
God. Like the way they phrased
There is no way that they fit all of those in that car. That's witchcraft. I'm calling witchcraft on that.
Well, what they probably did is there were probably multiple cars and multiple individuals, and they just kind of spread the wealth. That's a lot in that sheriff's truck, though.
And the sheriff then drove back to the base very, very carefully.
Very carefully, ready to shoot off some fireworks.
Very slowly. With their hand on the door handle in case they needed to jump away from an explosion at a moment's notice.
Hit a speed bump and all you hear is...
And all the Roman candles go off.
You dip. Dude, you jump out of that thing like an action movie. That is what you do at that point. You need to leave. You need to vacate the premises.
Yeah, honestly.
If I were a sheriff, I would have been like, free fireworks. And then just taking some fireworks home. Been like...
But yeah, it's crazy. It's just crazy wild and just insane. But
also, can I just ask one more question?
Go ahead. Oh my god!
What are the alligators for?
That's what I was asking, and no one could give me an answer.
Because there is no answer. What are the alligators for?
Maybe
they
bought the fireworks to put in the alligators.
Were they trapped in there? Were they like trying to like transport 2 cargoes at the same time, and the alligators suffocated under the fireworks?
Or were they sold, or were they traded alligators for fireworks at some point?
Yeah, were they hustling? That's a Florida man story. This doesn't sound like it should be in Staten Island.
They were
New York. I thought you were better than this.
They were trying to make shoes.
They were trying to make lizard skin shoes. $600.
Before we wrap up, because we're very much coming to the end of the show, let's talk about some seductive radishes. Well, because why not?
Can we get some Marvin Gaye in the background for this?
Some Careless Whisper.
Never mind. I'll do it. I'll do it. I've been really trying, baby.
So as you see,
trying to hold back this feeling for so long.
Where's my recorder? I need to learn Careless Whisper right
now. Clearly, the people who took these pictures sat there and thought, we're always teaching kids to make eating veggies fun. But how do we make adults want to eat more veggies? Because there's some picky adults. Why don't
Does
we make
this?
veggies sexy?
What do you know? What the vegetable industry is missing? Sex appeal.
It's missing slim, thick radishes.
It's missing. It really just makes you want to jump into bed with the
And
vegetables.
a single carrot right there, just kind of chilling. Like
This is dumb.
this seems like what was
This
the name
is
of
Feels a
that?
little wrong. Feels a
stupid.
little wrong.
What's the name of that service, Allie, that you were saying that was delivering the
Oh,
food?
Misfits Market. This is the kind
Farmers
of stuff.
only.
This is the kind of stuff you'd probably get from Misfits.
Mrs. Smiley probably looks at no, that's too seductive for us. Good lord, that's a big radish.
She's throwing it back. She
I'm
got
sorry.
dies like a truck.
Classy,
Truck.
ratchet.
It's just like I want to know though too.
This is stupid.
Oh, but she got nice. Like, look at the legs on that radish.
Like they end up on a nice little.
She's thick.
There's one where there's a radish looks like it's jumping in midair, running from a dog at some point, which is hysterical. And
I
Ooh,
never felt more uncomfortable covering a story in my life.
there it is. It's running from the dog. That's my favorite one. It's just the
Phil,
dog barking.
you know how many stories between the two of us together and separately that we've covered to get like I don't think I've ever felt this uncomfortable talking about a story.
this story's amazing.
Like
Amazing.
even serious stuff, like serious stories to some degree, you always maybe find out some discovered, especially as something that may directly affect you. But
I'm talking about like visceral discomfort. Like this
Now,
is the one farmer on Farmers Only that like nobody swipes right on. Like
I want to know.
everybody's like, oh, we gotta avoid that guy. He's doing some weird stuff.
You can't unsee it. It's
I
basically
wonder-
Annabelle,
like,
the
you
picture after the dog one, we can't even show. I don't think.
I want to know though, like, how do people feel when they're cutting these? Do they feel like they're hurting someone, or do they derive some weird satisfaction from it? Because I need to know about that. I need to know what's going on in
This
some
is
people's
terrifying.
just minds. But
This is
I'm
terrifying.
savage.
I'm glad
it's
though.
worth pointing out that the article on sadanduseless.com links to a radish pillow.
Oh,
Or the option of
Phil.
just seeking therapy.
The photo after the dog one is pretty.
We can't even show that.
I understand that now.
Oh,
This is
100%.
so stupid. This is so.
I did see on the sidebar one was just a frog that looks like angry avocado, and let me tell you, it does look like an angry avocado. And
Let me tell you this. These
that
people.
just like ain't it.
This is not the look, dude.
It's not the fit.
This is not
It's
like,
not
and you
the
know you
way.
made this gallery and like.
It's like BuzzFeed level of
Give it like
BuzzFeed,
a year. You're gonna be applying for a job, and people are gonna be like, "What is your relevant experience?" And you're gonna list them all the wonderful things that you've done in the world.
What is happening?
And then they're gonna discover this, and you're never gonna get hired
I mean,
because you're a freak that's taking
if you look at,
like your French girls pictures of radishes.
but if you look at it on the other hand, the analytics and the clicks and everything, all the underlying numbers, you'd be like, this guy's a freak, but he does his job just so well.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But
I am going to need a shower after this because I don't feel
dirty.
well after doing this.
He is.
It's just again with the peppers.
I got some cousins that look a little bit like that.
You're coming for your family now.
I got some cousins like
Sarah.
on the old Italian side look a little bit like that. Monticello looks a little bit like that. I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you for listening.
She said, "Let me insult my family."
Yeah, thanks for
deserve it.
listening and watching the Morning Buzz today here on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. I have been Philippe. I'm, of course, joined with my wonderful co-host Tara and our wonderful news contributor Hallie. Thank you to our producers Amanda and Ryan for always doing a great job and helping us out. And, of course, thanks to Adam and Annabella for keeping the show together and making sure we have, our content and presence online. Still working. We
Stay
will
safe
see
out
you.
there.
Stay safe. Tomorrow we'll
Stop
come
microwaving
back.
books.
We're coming back tomorrow with another Morning Buzz episode, same time, same place. And I hope everyone has a wonderful week. Bye.
Bye.